It was a time of prosperity in America. Many immigrants came to seek a better life in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. However, Europe was reaching a boiling point, and with the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, the fire was ignited, and World War I began. The United States decided to stay out of the war and remain isolated, but the war clouds soon moved toward us, and in April 1917, America entered the war. Many men clamored to join the military. Two of these men were brothers, Matt and Joe Grahek from Calumet, Michigan. They were both immigrants from Slovenia. Joe was born in 1889, while Matt was born in 1890, and settled in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. And Joe became a copper miner like his father. Matt worked in Calumet at the local butcher shop. As America entered into World War I in 1917, both brothers joined the Army, Joe in September 1917 and Matt in December. They were sent to Camp Custer to be trained. Matt was put into Company M, 339th Infantry Regiment, and Joe, who had already been an Army engineer, was put into Company A, 310th Engineers. They trained until June of 1918 and then were sent to New York City to board ships for England. Their stay in England was brief, as both the 339th Infantry and the 310th Engineers were selected to go to Archangel, Russia, instead of France. In 1917, the Russian people revolted against their king, or Tsar, and sued for peace with the Central Powers. This took Russia out of the war with Germany, but Russians had a civil war amongst themselves. It was into this maelstrom that the Grahek brothers would be thrown.
The Polar Bears were a group of about 5,000 American soldiers. These men were mostly from southeast Michigan, particularly the 339th Infantry. They were not happy to be there. They had either enlisted or had been drafted for the cause to fight the Hun in Germany. When they found out they were going to Russia, that did not make for a happy situation. They arrived in Archangel in September of 1918, and their mission initially was to guard war material that had been stored in warehouses in and around the Archangel area. And when they got there, they found out that it had all been looted and taken by the Bolshevik soldiers to the south. The British commanders, because they were under British command up there, told the American commanders, send some of your companies after the Bolsheviks up the river and down the railroad and see if you can engage them and see if you can get any of that war material back.
Company M caught up with the Bolos and had many skirmishes with them. On September 29, 1918, the Bolos attacked in force and forced the Americans to retreat. Under a heavy artillery barrage and machine gun fire, Matt went back to retrieve wounded comrades. Joe Grahek was sent up the Davina River with Company A, 310th Engineers. Joe related that, "Our first job was burying bodies of the infantry that had been killed at Ostrovia. All of the engineers' equipment had been sent elsewhere. Company A then began building blockhouses, trenches, and other defenses around the towns of Seltzow and Tulgas." While the men of the North Russian expedition were fighting for their lives, the war against Germany ended on November 11, 1918. Company A and Joe would not find out about the armistice until March 1919, when they were sent back to Archangel.
And when they found out about the armistice, some of them started cheering and some of them were elated, while others of them reminded them, we're not fighting Germans, we're fighting Russians, and these guys don't want us here. They steeled themselves, they got ready for a long winter of absolutely brutal weather and brutal attacks by the Bolshevik, both infantry and artillery.
During the winter, all the lakes and swamps froze over, and the Bolsheviks could then move heavy artillery and supplies over the land more easily. The Americans and Allied troops were forced to retreat closer to Archangel. Matt fought in 7 major battles and earned the nickname Machine Gun Grahek for his skilled use of the Lewis machine gun. At a battle along the railroad in April 1919, Matt again showed his bravery by advancing alone with his machine gun to stop Russian snipers. They were concealed in a ditch, and Matt was able to single-handedly rout them from their concealment. He was again decorated for his actions. In fact, Matt Grahek was the most decorated polar bear, having received the Distinguished Service Cross, the British Distinguished Conduct Medal, the French Croix de Guerre, and the Imperial Russian Cross of St. George. The brothers left Russia in May 1919, along with the rest of the polar bears. They had spent 9 months fighting the bolos, the terrible conditions and the temperatures that reached 84 degrees below zero Fahrenheit at times. Both men returned home to Michigan, where they lived the rest of their lives.
Back home, a committee was organized to put on a special reception and welcome home ceremony for the returning polar bears. From there, they marched down to the riverfront, boarded a steamer that took them to Belle Isle, where they disembarked to the scene of thousands of people waving banners and a large banner overhead that said, "Welcome home to the 339th Polar Bears."
These two brothers were a part of a little-known expedition that would see over 5,000 American soldiers fight in a remote part of northern Russia. They were but two of the Michigan men that made up almost 90% of the troops that were sent to Archangel. Although only a footnote in most history books, Matt and Joseph Grahek's sacrifices and heroism live on through their displays at the Michigan Heroes Museum.